On today's episode of the Investing Revolution, we are going to talk to Landon Cooley of Pest Share and talk about saving investors money through more than just maintenance and vacancy. Make sure to join us.
This is the Investing Revolution, a podcast designed to help your real estate investment strategy. On this podcast, we'll teach you the actionable steps to take and pitfalls to avoid so that your real estate investing can thrive.
Welcome to the Investing Revolution. I am your host, Jonathan Cook. And today we are going to talk about adding benefits to your rental investment, not just for your tenant, but for yourself. And we have a fantastic guest joining us today. My good friend, Landon Cooley. He is the CEO of Pest Share. And we've been good friends for a while now. He is part of our NARPM community. He got me some really nice, pretty orange shoes, Landon, that I have wore every day since I've received them. My wife thinks that they're great. They're nice and loud. They're bright orange tennis shoes. The entire Pest Share has orange tennis shoes. They bring them to the conferences. They all wear them. And I don't know exactly who it was that pestered you guys into, fine, we'll buy everybody. but I've enjoyed mine.
I'll give proper credit. My co-founder, Tom, orange became we call it obnoxious orange, became a thing in our company and our backdrops, all our market serials. And he was the first to get the neon orange shoes. And we gave him a bunch of heck about it. And before long, the whole team had them. And now we have a whole bunch of clients with them too. It's awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about Pest Share. And I want to dive into not just, your story. I do want to hear a little bit about how you guys went about starting Pest Share. And then I want to get to how this adds a level of not just service that we can provide for tenants, which is a big deal. Like, that's a huge thing, but also for our investors. And it's one of those, when we talk about pests and pest damage, those are kind of hidden costs that when you are operating a rental investment, that they sometimes get lost in the shuffle, and you're like, oh yeah, here's my regular maintenance cost, here's my taxes, here's my management fees, here's my vacancy cost, blah, blah, blah. And then like, uh-oh, we've got termites, or uh-oh, we've got mice. Walk us through how Pest Share operates, how you guys kind of started this, and then kind of where we are today, and kind of how we've built these packages around it. Because here at Revolution, we're Pest Share clients. We're big fans. Yep. So walk us through that, if you don't mind, Landon.
Absolutely, yeah. Just to start off, so Pest Share is a unique pest control software platform designed for the property management industry, and so our goal is really twofold. First, we want to provide both residents and investors with a pest control benefit, a pest control amenity that can be included within the lease and as part of the property. And then also we want to be able to kind of offload the headaches of pest control for property managers through our software platform, and give the residents, really whoever the user is. Typically it's the residents themselves, or an owner, or a property manager, an easy way to come and, request pest control services through the platform. And so we got our start. I have two co-founders, Justin and Tom Clements, which a lot of people in the industry know as well. And we all come from the pest control industry. I personally am fourth generation now in the pest control industry. So as of today, my grandpa is in his late 80s, and he has his own small owner-operator pest control company. My dad has a mid-sized company as well, and then I've kind of done my own thing. We're all close, but all done our own things, but stayed in the pest control industry. And then Justin and Tom as well have come up in the pest control industry throughout their career too. And so back in about 2018, I prior to that, maybe around 2012, 2013, started getting really involved in NARPM within the property management community, just as a pest control vendor here locally where I live in Idaho. And we, over the years, developed great relationships. Then, about 2018 or so, started having clients coming to me saying, hey, here are these pain points, pest control pain points and property management. And up to that point, the pest control industry really hadn't seen, definitely doesn't really target property managers, I'd say. It doesn't have a lot of solutions designed for the industry. And so we started putting our heads together and saying, how can we get creative here? And, a lot of the pain points were around specific pests. There was a specific instance we had where we had a property manager with a small multifamily complex that had bed bugs in it, and it went from 1 unit to 15 units in about a 50-unit complex, and ended up getting infested. It's hard to say. We don't know exactly when the original problem started. But I will say we've seen a situation like that. It could happen, within months even. It doesn't take a substantial amount of time for those types of issues to spread. And so bed
bugs is always it's like one of those naughty words in property management or in really
everywhere.
Any form of like real estate investment. You say bed bugs, it's like, you might as well have said mold or squatters. Those are all the scary words. Just like, these are off limit words. Don't even say them for any reason ever. Bed bugs is one of those, my friend.
Oh man, it's so true, and they're expensive. This unit or in this situation, this is like a C-class property. The investor ended up with the cost of service, and it was almost $30,000 for treatment for all those units, and so. It's so that's there's that, and then you have the roaches. You have these different things that are problems, and so our clients came to us and they said, "Hey, how can we get creative in finding more affordable solutions for this?" Because typically the residents and a lot of markets are supposed to be responsible for this, and then how can we turn this into like a pest control amenity and include this within our lease and actually advertise it and add value for the resident experience and the investor's experience. And so that's kind of where we got our start. Launched to the national market in April of 2021, and we've just ran with it since then. And so I don't honestly know the exact count today, but I know we're in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 states now. We will likely have rounded off all 50 here by the end of, I'd say by the end of 2023 for sure. And very focused on helping property managers and all their clients.
So just to kind of dive into that a little bit and give some context from a property management standpoint to our investor listeners, that's always been one of those really, frequently asked questions. When I'm operating business development and bringing on new clients to our company, one of the, everybody wants to know about like vacancy. When are you going to get things marketed? When are we going to get things, when are you going to find a tenant in place? And then like once they go through like what happens if they don't pay? What happens if they don't do this? And like all of your pretty quick standard, like, ooh, I've got to make this investment work for me. Kind of one of those that just always has, up until, we started operating with you guys, that question comes up like, so like, what do we do about pests? How do we handle, bugs in the property? What happens with cockroaches? What happens with mice? What happens with, like, what if they get an ant infestation? What if they have bed bugs is a great one, fleas, ticks, whatever. And, for the longest time, when I was at my previous company, and even before that one, as long as I've been doing this, for the most part, that answer has been so vague. It's been, well, okay, so being in the South, I've operated in the Southeast my entire career. So I've been in Alabama and Georgia and Florida. And so we have termites. Termites is that's one of those that we have a lot. And so it's like, well, you need a termite bond. If you own and operate a property in the Southeast, you're going to need a termite bond. And that's kind of standard. But then, we let the tenants handle pests except for like mice. If there's mice in it, like that's you got to handle that. If there's termites, that's you. But then kind of the rest of that, we put it on the tenants, which, it from a liability standpoint, that always seemed like a safe bet, right? It seems a good, safe way to handle it, because I didn't want to get into it, because I'm not a pest control expert. I don't know. I don't even know how many bugs can theoretically, infest a property, but I've definitely walked into properties that, tenants have moved out of and left within 2 or 3 minutes. Like, I'm covered in fleas. What's going on? Why am I, there are ants everywhere. I walked in, there's roaches on the ceiling and on the walls. Like, it's a really frustrating situation to walk into, and especially from an investor's standpoint. You've bought this property, you put a tenant in there, and maybe you didn't even know that the tenants were having anything wrong, because in the periodic inspections, maybe you don't see any of the bugs. Maybe you don't see it because you don't always have a wall covered in roaches or a wall covered in ants or whatever it might be. It's, throughout those periodic inspections, if you see like everything looks okay, they've paid their rent on time, and then we go to do a turn and it's just everything is infested with who knows what. Like, how do we handle this? What do we do? How do you operate in that space? And so we haven't had a solution for the long. We've just said
exactly.
It's the tenant's responsibility until the tenants are gone. And now whose responsibility is it? Now it's ours. Let's figure it out. So
that's the pain point right there. I mean, there's so much ambiguity and lack of clarity around pest control and property management. And admittedly, it's not the biggest maintenance related problem. It's not like HVAC or some of the other things that are more frequent. But in some ways, that's what makes it more complicated. Again, typically a lot of lease agreements will call out the residents as being responsible, yet there's a lot of legislation out there by state stating otherwise. Certain states require specific bugs like bed bugs or rodents to be the investor's responsibility. And so it's there's a little bit of contradiction there. Yeah, absolutely. And then you hit on it well also. And, let's say they spread from one unit to another. That's a tough one to pin on the tenant. There's a move out and you have new tenants. They move in, and within 3 days you get that call. Hey, I think there might be fleas in here. I mean, at that point, sure, you can maybe start to go back the lease and chase people around trying to collect money, but you got to move, and you got to move fast. And so so those are all the things that we encountered as pest control vendors over the years as we worked with property managers. Those are things that really led up to ultimately our offering. And really what we do, our take on that is, first, we want to create clarity. And so the way we do that is we put together a program that says, for this price, we're going to cover these pests. And it's, we call it our pest assurance program. And so those pests are typically, for property managers, we like to include bed bugs, cockroaches, fleas, rodents, ants is another common one. There's a variety of pests you can include. And then the price for that is typically tremendously lower than the cost of normal pest control. We're talking, we have packages that start at $5, $10 a month. Some of our more inclusive packages are in the $20 range. But also you can, most pest control for very standard quarterly exterior pest control is $30, $40, $50 a month, and that's never including bed bugs or roaches with that. And so we were able to leverage on the volume within most property managers' portfolios and our national market to get those price points down. And then with the coverage in place, say a resident experiences that, the resident can directly go on their phone, pestshare.com, and they could submit a service request. And if it's say it's ants, they put in basic information. Within minutes, our software takes that, connects to the property manager's portfolio, approves the pest, creates a work order, and then we just send it straight out to our service provider network. And so it's extremely fast. But more to your point, the solutions in the clarity and the accessibility for that user, for the person experiencing the infestation.
Yeah. So, and to go back to what you were just talking about with y'all's portal, like going from your website. So this is, it's a convenience aspect of being a resident nowadays that we are seeing, becoming just beyond popular. It's the way of the future. It's the way rental investments are going to have to operate in the future, to to be efficient and to be able to make the most return on your investment dollars. Gone are the days where a slumlord, landlord can just, hey, once you've signed the lease, I'm done operating with you. Send me the rent in the mail, and that's it. Try and call someone. Nobody's going to ever answer the phone. Like that kind of management, that kind of landlord services, those are going away, especially in 2020 through 2021, when the market was really shifting and there was just a major, lack of inventory in the market. There are people that moved into some situations that had not great landlords. But now, as the market is shifting again and we're getting back into, hey, there are options. Residents have options. They want to be in the best possible option. And it's something that I preach on here, as much as, I'd call any of this preaching, but it's, if you treat a resident well, they're going to make you more money. If you give them the opportunity to be the best possible tenant and make it convenient for them, then they're going to do that. I mean, tenants aren't maliciously trying to be bad tenants. They don't like to do that, especially when the way that we operate as a company, the way that we kind of put that scoring back on them, giving them that option through Pest Share's website to be able to, I've noticed this issue, I want to take care of it today, and I don't have to go through 7 different phone trees. I don't have to call this person. I don't have to call that person. I don't have to figure it out on my own. Hey, as part of my package of renting from Revolution and all of your other clients, as part of my package for renting this property, and it's one of the reasons I rented this property is because of the benefits that I'm getting from them. One of those benefits is my Pest Share login. I can get on, I can say, I have ants. I don't have to know what kind of ants I have. I don't have to know, hey, these are Egyptian whatever ants, or these are fire ants, or these are, I don't know how many ants there are, Landon. I assume there's more than the 2 that I
there's
can name
lots
off
of
the top of my head. But they don't have to do that. They get on, they get into their portal, they type up the information, and it gets handled. It bounces from them, it bounces to us, it bounces to you guys. We can all operate together from that portal, per se, to get this done efficiently without having it to go sit in someone's email inbox for a week, and maybe they've got into it, and then maybe, well, now I have to remember, is this lease on one where I have to say, did they take care of it, or how do we take care of this? It's all just handled, and that's the ease of management, and that's why we partner with companies like yours. I mean, that's why we operate with Second Nature. It's why we operate with Property Meld. It's why we operate with you guys. It's because any way that I can make the operation of these rental investments run more efficiently, you should always take that up. And especially if it gets to be a resident benefit like this.
Yeah, I think investors need to really understand and recognize the power in resident experience and how that impacts their NOI. And I know that's a big focus of ours is when people ask us, what are the benefits of Pest Share? Well, we can provide increase that resident experience, give them a valuable amenity they can take advantage of. We can increase operating efficiency and opportunities for property managers, and really just offload the headache of pastoral ultimately for property managers. That's a big focus of ours. And then for investors, it's all about increasing that resident experience, which improves churn rates with residents and their overall stay in the property, and which is hugely impactful on NOI. Aside from the fact that a lot of investors catch these pest control bills, and we also resolve that as well. Again, kind of by creating that clarity and having that program in place. And so, but yeah, I mean, I know you're the whiz behind these numbers, but what hits at NOI the hardest? Churn and maintenance. And so that's why we think, and there's a lot of offerings that meet this pain point, but Pest Share especially addresses that head on.
So when I talk vacancy, the number one loss in profitability is vacancy. But when I say vacancy, that doesn't just mean someone's not in the property. There's a lot of things that go into why is this property vacant. It's not just, a major part of vacancy is always the turn, right? I mean, that's a huge portion of it, is that turn process. And turns are more than just, you got to paint, you got to put down a new carpet or whatever it might need to be. You got to fix all the things. A major part of that turn that like I want to get this across because I feel like it is looked over so frequently, is making sure that like those little pest things like fleas. I want to harp on fleas for a minute because they will go dormant. You'll have eggs in the carpet. And at the time of, say, you know, they've moved out and you've done your inspection on it, you know, move out inspection, and maybe you haven't noticed it. Maybe they didn't, you know, hatch and start jumping on you. But, you know, over a couple weeks where it's empty and like, oh, there's nothing in there, then it starts to heat up and then someone walks across that carpet again. All of a sudden, oh, we're full of fleas. And having a company in place that's going to be able to handle that properly, instead of me, who is not an expert on pest control, try and come up with a solution during a turn of, I think there might have been fleas in there. I don't really know. Who are we going to send out? How are we going to handle this? You know, your property manager is very likely not an expert on every bit of the operation of living and operating a property. I'm really well versed in electrical knowledge. That is a specifically Jonathan Cook thing. My dad was the electrical inspector in Shelby County in Alabama, where I grew up. My dad writes the National Electrical Code. Like, I have a lot of history in that, and I don't know a ton about it, but I know way more about it than I know about pests for sure.
Yes.
And I am unlikely to even go and like replace a light fixture in a property, because I'm like, I know enough to know that I'm not going to be the one to go do this. But then when it goes to something that I have even less knowledge on, like pests, why would you ever want your property manager, who should be an expert on managing the property, you don't want to put that in their lap. You don't want to put that in their hands and have them go, I've got to figure this out. Who do I call? What's the best number to handle this? And what? No, the best answer is Pest Share. I'm just going to call Landon. Actually, I'm not even going to call Landon. It's our team is going to go through the portal and it's just going to get handled. But if there's something crazy, I might call you and be like, Landon, listen to this crazy thing.
You can call me anytime, man.
Yeah, of course.
No,
so
it's tacking onto that as well. There's a regulatory part of that as well, a licensing part, compliance part, where we're dealing with pesticides, and the reality is, statistically, almost 90% of U.S. households every year experience pest infestation. In property management and rental properties, 69% of renters choose DIY solutions. And DIY, the raid, they don't work. In fact, oftentimes they make the problem worse. And so we're big advocates for the professional industry. But again, that's the other side of the equation is it's not cheap. It's the traditional offerings from the industry are expensive, and so I think that's definitely a benefit. Is how do we get professional service more affordable? But then also we have a vast service network where we're doing that legwork of making sure, hey, when our providers come out and put pesticides around the home, they're doing it safely. They have the proper licenses, the proper insurance, all those things, and so we really do represent in that regard, where there's a resource there to execute that and make sure it goes smooth. And we don't want your clients to have to worry about that, and want to make that as seamless as possible.
And I think that's the level that we want to be able to have our investors be aware of, and like our investors and our tenants, that professionalism is where this industry as a whole is going. And any time that you make that step out of, oh, we're going to use a specialist for this, it always does sound expensive. Of course it does. I mean, the number of times that, my wife has said something that she's found on Pinterest. Oh, you can put apple cider vinegar in a cup and put this, and that'll get rid of, fruit flies. I'm like, why would we do that? There are professionals. I can just call up our friends and get this handled properly. Oh, well, yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But like, you're trained, to try and handle things as cheaply as possible. And the thing is this, having Pest Share as a portion of how we operate as property management, it's not about a cheapness aspect of it, but it is a ton of value that you're getting that is going to save a ton of money in the bottom line. And that's where that professionalism comes in, to get it done properly, so it doesn't have to just keep happening over and over. And if you have one little, I don't want to say a bad word here, but like a half-cocked, there we go, a half-cocked solution to where they come out and, I can handle this with, here's some cool little thing that I found that, maybe our maintenance team can go and handle on their own, and it gets handled. That's, we're going to charge you $60 here, and then we're going to come back out, 3 months later, another $60, and then every 3 months, $60, $70, $80, $100. It's like, we can just call Pest Share and have them handle this right now. Maybe it's $120 to get it done, but it's done right. And that's where I think everyone in this industry that's trying to do this professionally and have things, operate efficiently and smoothly, our investors are going to end up on top. They're going to be in the black way more often because we have this done professionally than those that try and skate by on, I've got this solution that my grandma's sister's cousin's friend told me that if you hop on one foot and, blink 30 times while dancing around some apple cider vinegar, you get rid of bed bugs. No, let's do it right the first time.
No, that's huge. And we know that about maintenance and property management, the importance of having good providers and taking the right approach. And at times, that does require spending money ultimately to get it done right to ensure that you don't have problems in the future. And I think, for Pest Share, again, that's focus of ours is get the program in place on the front end of this so we can just have smooth process. So we don't have to, you think about it. That's just it. In fact, I'll tell a story to explain this, but coincidentally, I live here in Boise, Idaho. We're building a new home right now, so we're renting in the meantime. And we're pretty saturated here in Boise. This is our pilot market, and so I go, and it just so happens in my neighborhood where I just sold my home is a rental available, and it just so happens it's a Pest Share client, and has a benefit program and everything associated. So we end up leasing it, and I move in, and so I have ants. Legitimately, like within the first week, we realized we have ants in the master bath and in the garage. And so I've actually lived in this experience. And pre-Pest Share, what's that look like? And maybe we'll excuse the fact that I own a pest control company here or involved with Pest Share, but what does that look like? Either me as the resident has to take on that expense, which is going to cost me for ants, could be anywhere from $200 to maybe $350, let's call it, for a treatment for that. Or I'm going to try to call my property manager, and who knows, in my case, my lease would call out that I'd be responsible for that. And so, but I'm going to see if I can get them to pay for it, and we're going to have this back and forth. Meanwhile, the ant problem is only getting worse, and maybe I'm in a single family home, but maybe I'm in a multifamily unit. Maybe they've spread to the neighbor over this 2-week period of time, all just for me to end up hearing either, hey, let me check with the owner, see if we can get it covered, or, sorry, we don't. You have to call someone else, and then who knows what I do from there, And so the hopeful situation for the tenant is maybe I can get the property manager to pay for this because I just moved in and it was here, which is bad news for the investor. They have an unexpected expense now, and for the property manager. But even then, I'd say industry standard time to delivery service for something with pest control is, it could be a couple weeks before someone's actually there starting the treatment process. And so, flip side of that for Pest Share, I actually asked my wife in our situation, hey, you can call the pest control company, have them come out, or you can get right on your phone and within 5 minutes have this done and it's rolling. And she's like, well, yeah, I don't want to call anyone. I've got 4 kids and too much to do. I'm going to get right on my phone and get it done. and that's it.
Get it handled when you see it.
Added costs. Yep, it's professionally gets taken care of, and we're rolling. We never had to even call the property manager, never had to call the property manager, never called the investor. We obviously, through our platform, our software platform, we track all these analytics. We have those available, notification, preferences, all that. But in reality for the tenant, it's that simple. And so we absolutely see in our clients' markets now where pest control is being an advertised amenity out there along with the property when they're advertising. It's absolutely adding value to the rental experience and the property itself, but also, and again, creating a better resident experience, which makes residents stay longer. And I think that is hugely valuable. And maybe the last point I'll say is Pest Share is the only one that does this on a national scale. And so there's, for investors, this is a unique benefit that is not necessarily widespread yet. And to be able to have this through your property manager and have this as an available offering is highly valuable. And that should highlight who you chose to be your property manager as well and how they look at your experience.
Wow. I don't think you could have wrapped up with a better story, and you kind of tied everything there in the end up with a nice little bow. I mean, and that's exactly the advice that I want to give everyone. I mean, if you're listening or watching the episode today and, you have a property management company that's not me, it's not us, you want to reach out to them and talk to them about the Pest Share experience, see if that's something that they offer, or see if that's something that they can start offering, because it's that level of important. I want to make sure that people understand that not everybody is using Pest Share yet, and if you have a property manager that's not, you need to get in their ear about having them look into signing up with Pest Share. It's that level of important. It can save you a ton of money, even not just in the turn cost, but just in like vacancy and keeping the best quality tenants in your property. I mean, that story is the perfect example of what we're talking about here. That's the exact experience that most people are going through, that as an investor, you never have it click until the experience happens. So, Landon, thank you so much for being on the episode today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the story. I appreciate the orange shoes and all the good times that we have together, man. I look forward to seeing you again awesome. At whatever the next conference that we all end up with together, and hanging out with the wives and the pals, and we'll all go have a good time.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me on the show. And we love the show. We listen to the show. We think it adds great value to the industry and for investors everywhere, and encourage people to keep listening. So thanks for having us here, and we appreciate you guys and look forward to seeing you soon. Great.
Thank you so much, Landon. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to keep up to date on the latest episodes when they come out. We should have another episode in about 2 weeks. So come back and join us then. Thank you so much. Have a great day.